Hello mathematicians, this is the answer key video for chapter 3, lesson 7, part 2. And I have to solve the system of equations by graphing. So for the first equation, I want to put that into slope-intercept form. So y minus 2x equals 4. I want to solve for y. So y, if I add 2x to both sides, I can get y equals 2x plus 4. And so the other equation is already in slope-intercept form. So we have no y-intercept, or the y-intercept is at the origin for the second equation, and it's at positive 4 for the first equation. So I'm going to graph those. So 4, and then my slope was 2x, so down 2 over 1. And so it's positive 2x, and so I can graph that. My slope m is positive 2. And then my slope for my second equation is also 2. And it's just 2x, so it passes through the origin. And here are the points for it. And so then both of my lines are parallel with each other. Therefore, there is no solution. Okay, so for equation 2, I have to write both of my lines in slope-intercept form. So y minus 4x equals 8. I can solve for y by putting negative 4x on the right. So if you add 4x to both sides, you can get y by itself on the left. So y equals 4x plus 8. So my slope is 4 and my y-intercept is 8. And then so for my other equation, my second one, I'm going to solve y equals 2 times 2x plus 4. Distribute the 2 to the 2x and to the 4. Y equals 2x times 2 is 4x, and then 2 times 4 is 8. So these are both the same equation. So I'm going to graph the equation in black. And so my y-intercept is 8, and then my slope is 4. So if I go up to 12 and then over 1, or if I go down to 4 over 1 to the left. And so that's my line for those equations that are the same equation. And so this is an infinite number of solutions, or these two equations have an infinite number. Okay, problem 8. A line passes through each pair of points. Determine if the system has no solution, one solution, or an infinite number of solutions. Show your work on a separate sheet of paper. So I gave myself some extra space here. And the first thing you have to do is you have to solve for m. And your slope m is going to be equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And so if all of my ordered pairs are written in XY format, and then I can find my Y2 and my Y1, my X2 and my X1 from the points that are given. So for the first equation, or for the first points given, I'm going to use the color red to solve for my slope. So I'm going to take Y2 minus Y1, 5 minus 3 over negative 2 minus 0. And then so my slope for number 1 for my first equation is going to be 5 minus 3, which is 2, and negative 2 minus 0, which is negative 2. So my slope is negative 1. Now my slope for my second equation is m equals y2, which is 3, minus y1, which is negative 2, so minus a negative 2, over 0, which is x2, minus x1, which is 5. So 3 plus 2 is 5, and then 0 minus 5 is negative 5. So this second equation has a slope of negative 1 as well. Okay, so now I have to solve for my y-intercept. So for my first equation, I can take the points and substitute them in. So let's say y equals mx, which is negative 1x plus b. I can solve for b if I substitute in, let's say, 0 and 3 into my equation. So 3 will go in or substitute in for y. Negative 1 times 0, which will substitute in for x, plus b. Negative 1 times 0 is just 0, so the y-intercept of b is 3. So my equation for the first set of points is y equals negative x plus 3, and so that's my first equation. Then my second equation, I have to solve for b, so y equals negative 1x plus b, and I can substitute in 5 and negative 2. So negative 2 equals negative 1 times 5 plus b. So negative 1 times 5 is negative 5 plus b equals negative 2. Add 5 to both sides to get b by itself. Whoops. Negative 2 plus 5 is positive 3, so b equals 3. And so my equation of my line is y equals negative x plus 3, which is the same equation. So since they're the same equation, I'm going to graph using the color black. So my y-intercept is 3, and my slope is negative 1. So down 1 to the right 1, down 1 to the right 1. So I'm just plotting those points, and now I'm going to draw a line of best fit. So the answer for this one is infinite number of solutions. Okay, we have the same type of problem for number 9. First, we're going to solve for the slope. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So 1 minus 1 is 0, and 0 minus 4 is negative 4. So my slope is 0, so that means it's a flat line going like this. So if my slope is 0, y equals mx, which is 0 times x, plus b. Y is just b. So I can solve for b if I substitute in a number for y, which is just 1. So I can substitute in 1 equals b. And so my line is y equals 1. Okay, now I'm going to find the slope for my next equation, or for my next set of points. So we'll take y1, or y2, which is 4, minus y1, minus a negative 4, over x2, which is 4, minus x1, which is 0. So 4 plus 4 is 8, and 4 minus 0 is 4, so my slope is 2. And so now I can solve for my y-intercept by substituting in my values into the equation y equals 2x plus b. So I can substitute in 4, that could be easy, or 0, negative 4. I'm going to try 0, negative 4. So negative 4 equals 2 times 0 plus b. 2 times 0 is just 0. So b equals negative 4. So my equation for my second line is y equals 2x minus 4. Okay, so now I'm going to graph those lines. Y equals 1. the slope-intercept is at 1, or the y-intercept is at 1, so then I'm just going to draw my line y equals 1. Now I'm going to draw my second line. -4 is my y-intercept, so right here. And it goes up 2 over 1 to the right. Up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. And so now I'm going to draw my line, and I can figure out the point at which they cross, which is right here. So at 2.5x and at 1y. That's where my solution is, and it's one solution. And it's one solution because they don't share the same slope, and they've got different y-intercepts. Okay, last problem on your homework. So we have to first solve for the slope. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So 2 plus 2 is 4, 0 plus 2 is 2, so my slope is positive 2. And so now I can solve for my y-intercept by taking y equals 2x plus b, and then substituting in, let's say, this ordered pair. 2 equals 2 times 0 plus b. 2 times 0 is just 0. So my y-intercept is 2. So y equals 2x plus 2. That's my first equation. And now my second equation, I have to solve for my slope first. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. -1 minus 1 is -2, and then 0 minus 1 is -1. So -2 over -1 is just positive 2. So now I can solve for my y-intercept. Y equals 2x plus b. By substituting in the points, let's use 0 and -1. -1 equals 2 times 0 plus b. 2 times 0 is just 0, so b equals -1. So they both have the same slope of positive 2, but they have different y-intercepts, so -1 and positive 2. So my equation of my line for my second equation is y equals 2x minus 1. Now I'm going to graph those. So using the color red for the first equation, 2, and then my slope of 2. I can graph that. And now I'm going to graph my second line. -1 is my y-intercept, so right here, and then up 2 over 1. So I'm just plotting those points, and then I'm going to graph the line. And they are parallel, and they both go on forever, and they will never touch. So the answer is no solution for this problem.